Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down one of the trickiest questions you can get in an IT service management interview. You know the one. It's designed to see if you really know your stuff, and by the end of this, you're going to have an answer that absolutely nails it.
Think about it. We've all been there. You're in the interview, it's going great, and then they drop that question. The one that makes you pause. And, often the hardest questions aren't about defining one single thing. They're about how you connect all the dots across the bigger picture.
I like to call it the mandatory links question. An interviewer might ask something like, so can you explain the relationship between problem management and change enablement? Or walk me through how a series of incidents could spark a continual improvement project. It's a classic, and honestly, it's a classic for a reason. It's designed to test if you've just read the book or if you've actually lived it.
And here's why it's so powerful. They're not looking for a textbook definition. Anyone can memorize that, right? What they really want to see is if you can think systemically. Do you get that these practices aren't just siloed departments, but a living, breathing, interconnected system that delivers value? Nailing that explanation, that's what makes you stand out.
Okay, so let's get into it. We're going to build the perfect, structured answer step by step. And like most stories in IT operations, this one kicks off with an incident. So, picture this. The service desk gets a ticket. A critical app is running super slow. They do a quick fix, maybe restart a service, and bam, the user's back in business. But then, a few hours later, another ticket comes in. Same issue, and then another. See, a single incident is just a fire you need to put out. But a pattern of incidents, well, that's smoke. And it's telling you there's a much bigger fire burning somewhere you can't see.
All right, now this table right here, this is your roadmap, your secret weapon for the interview. It lays out the 5 key connections that interviewers are listening for. We're going to start with how incident management triggers a problem. Then we'll see how a real fix demands change enablement, the huge role of knowledge management, and how all of this gets bubbled up to continual improvement and even service level management. We're going to break down every single one of these links.
So let's talk about that first connection, the handoff. The job of incident management is to get the service back up and running fast. But once they've done that a few times for the same issue, their next job is to spot that pattern and officially raise a problem record. That's the moment the whole game changes. We're no longer just treating symptoms, we're officially launching an investigation with problem management to find the root cause.
Okay, so we have an official problem on our hands. But, just identifying it, that's only half the battle. Now we have to actually forge a permanent fix, one that's going to stick.
And this is where your answer really shows your experience. Let's say the permanent fix for our slow app is a database optimization. You can't just have a developer go in and apply it. No way. That's how you create an even bigger outage. That fix must go through the formal change enablement process. This is the practice that makes sure every change is properly tested, approved, and rolled out in a controlled way that minimizes risk to the business.
Now, this is a really important distinction to make in your answer. While the team is working on that permanent fix, you can't just let users suffer. That's where a workaround comes in. It's a temporary patch, right? Like maybe rebooting the server every morning. It doesn't solve the real problem, but it definitely lessens the pain. And where does that workaround live? It gets documented and shared through knowledge management, so the whole service desk team can use it and give users a consistent experience.
And here's where you see that beautiful workflow in action. Problem management finds the issue. Knowledge management gets that temporary fix out to the front lines. And then finally, change enablement makes sure the real fix is deployed safely. Explaining how these 3 practices work together in concert, that's a huge part of a great answer.
But look, a truly A+ answer doesn't just stop there. It zooms out. You've handled the immediate fire, sure. But what about the bigger, strategic picture? Let's talk about how this one little problem can have a ripple effect across the whole company.
This right here is where your answer goes from good to great. So fixing that one slow application is fantastic, but what if the root cause analysis finds it's because the server it's on is ancient? And what if you look at the data and realize that 3 other critical apps are running on similarly ancient servers? Whoa! Now you don't just have a single data point, you have a very, very scary trend.
And that brings us to the next mandatory link, continual improvement. This is the practice that's all about getting better over time. That trend analysis from problem management, it goes straight into the CSI register. This is what allows the organization to shift from being reactive to being proactive. Instead of just waiting for those other old servers to fail, you can now launch a strategic project to replace all of them, preventing potentially thousands of future incidents.
And this whole strategic view leads us straight to our final connection,
the one that really matters to the business. Because let's be honest, in IT, a technical problem is never just a technical problem. It always hits the bottom line.
And that's the link to service level management, the practice that deals with all the contracts and service targets. If that slow application is being supported by a third-party vendor and it's constantly failing to perform, well, that could be a breach of their service level agreement, the SLA. And all that data you carefully collected in problem management, that becomes hard evidence for the SLM team to hold that supplier accountable. We're talking financial penalties, contract renegotiations, real business impact.
Whew. Okay, so we've covered all 5 of the mandatory links. We've gone from a few annoying help desk tickets all the way up to a strategic business conversation. Now let's wrap it all up into that one killer narrative you're going to use in your interview.
So here's how you tell the story. You start with recurring incidents. That pattern triggers problem management to dig for the root cause. While they're digging, a temporary workaround is documented via knowledge management to help users. Then, the permanent fix is safely deployed using controlled change enablement. And finally, all the data and trends from that whole process feed up into continual improvement and give service level management the ammo they need to manage vendors. That's it. That's the whole 360-degree story.
And when you answer the question that way, you're showing something really important. You're not just someone who can follow a process. You're showing that you're a strategic thinker who gets how all these moving parts work together to protect and create real business value. This isn't just about acing an interview question, it's about proving you have the mindset to be a leader in this space.
So I'll leave you with this. Take this framework and think about your own organization. How strong are those links? Are the handoffs clean, or are there gaps where things get dropped? Understanding this model isn't just for an interview. It's a seriously powerful tool you can use to make a real difference right now where you work. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer.